It's safe to say the Minnesota Timberwolves' first playoff series in years has delivered on the drama. And the basketball's been pretty compelling too. But the back-and-forth showdown between the T-Wolves and Grizzlies has taken a back seat to a series of interruptions from animal rights protesters at Minnesota's Target Center and Memphis's FedEx Forum. Decidedly intense interruptions at that. The activist group responsible for these demonstrations, Direct Action Everywhere, or DXE, has now derailed 3 T-Wolves games this month in an attempt to hold T-Wolves majority owner Glen accountable amid allegations of animal cruelty at his factory egg farm in Iowa. There's a lot to unpack here, but we're gonna break it down for you. So sit back, relax, and take this in. Before we dive into today's episode, if you're interested in rocking some of the Score gear, you can check out all our apparel at shop.thescore.com. You can find the link in the description. Go get yourself a hoodie, a crew neck, or a tee, and you can look as cool as I do. Alright, now back to the show. Let's throw it back to the play-in game, which is when this saga began. Yes, Anthony Edwards dropped 30 and D'Angelo Russell added 29 in the T-Wolves' victory over the Clippers, but the most memorable performance of the night didn't come from anybody in uniform. Rather, that distinction belonged to activist Alicia Santurio, who attempted to glue herself to the court late in the second quarter while wearing a shirt that read, "Glen Taylor roasts animals alive." Why? Because DXE investigators recently discovered that 5.3 million chickens had been killed in what they believe to be inhumane fashion following an outbreak of avian influenza, bird flu, at Rembrandt Enterprises, a factory farm owned by Taylor. While it is standard operating procedure to quarantine and kill any birds exposed to the avian flu, which has now spread to 24 million birds across the United States, DXE took exception to the specific killing method allegedly used by Rembrandt, ventilation shutdown plus. The process has been widely condemned by animal rights groups, including Veterinarians Against Ventilation Shutdown, who say the brutal and painful method essentially amounts to baking animals to death. However, despite DXE's claim that Rembrandt's conduct was in violation of state law, ventilation shutdown plus is permitted under constrained circumstances according to the United States Department of Agriculture. In any event, DXE didn't only take umbrage with the killing method used on these chickens. They also expressed their frustration with the fact that Rembrandt Enterprises has received and continues to receive millions of dollars in taxpayer subsidies to finance their factory farming operation. Ultimately, Santurio was escorted off the court and banned from Target Center for a year. But DXE, it turned out, was only getting started. Just before halftime in Game 1 between the T-Wolves and Grizzlies at Memphis's FedEx Forum, another activist stormed the court to hold Taylor to task. This time, DXE organizer Zoe Rosenberg, sporting the same shirt as her fellow protester, littered the floor with flyers before chaining herself to one of the basket stanchions. For her efforts, Rosenberg was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing. If you thought criminal charges would put an end to DXE's campaign though, think again. The organization attempted to stage a similar protest during Game 3, but their activist Matt Johnson was cut off by security and escorted out before he could make it onto the floor. Johnson, for his part, was also slapped with criminal charges and banned from Target Center for 1 year. Then, in Game 4, they were at it again. This time, activist Sasha Zemmel intended to storm the court dressed up like a referee and issue a technical foul, ejection, and fine to Taylor, but she was ultimately tackled by security within moments of stepping on the floor. Her referee uniform, as it happens, had the number 5.3 on the back, a nod to the 5.3 million chickens recently killed at Rembrandt Enterprises' Iowa farm. Is that it for the protests? That remains to be seen, but Edwards at least is tired of seeing play interrupted at Target Center. As for Taylor though, he's remained silent as these protests have unfolded and ultimately overshadowed the T-Wolves' first postseason series since their first round exit in 2017-2018. Taylor, who has a net worth of $2.5 billion according to Forbes, hasn't publicly responded to DXE's request that he donate certain subsidies he received to public health charities and animal sanctuaries as a fine. He also hasn't responded to their request that he immediately step down from day-to-day operations as majority owner, and that his forthcoming sale of the team to Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lohr be expedited. Short of that though, there's no reason to believe that DXC's campaign will stop. And until Taylor responds or Minnesota gets eliminated from the postseason, expect more drama whenever the T-Wolves take the floor.